Shri Srimad, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Brahma Matva Gaudi Acharya Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Śrī Kṛṣṇa Caitanya Prabhu Nityananda Śrī Advaita Gadadhar Śrī Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Śrī Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan ki jai. Vṛndāvana Dham ki jai. Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki jai. जगन्नाथ पुरी धाम की जय, गंगा माई की जय, यमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, समवेत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय. For Premanande Hari Hari. All glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to the assembled devotees, all glories to Sri Guru and Gauranga, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevāya. We are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 8, titled Prayers by Queen Kunti, Text 21. Kṛṣṇāya Vasudevāya devakī-nandanāya ca nanda-gopa-kumārāya govindāya namo namaḥ. 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 Vaishnavis, kṛṣṇāya, the Supreme Lord, vāsudevāya, unto the son of Vasudeva, devakī-nandanāya, unto the son of Devakī, cha, and nanda-gopa, Nanda and the cowherd men, Kumārāya, unto their son, govindāya, unto the Personality of Godhead, who enlivens the cows and the senses, namaḥ, respectful obeisances, namo, obeisances. Translation. Please repeat with me. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devakī, the boy of Nanda and the other cowherd men of Vṛndāvana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. Purport. The Lord being thus unapproachable by any material assets, out of unbounded and causeless mercy, descends on this earth as he is, in order to show his special mercy upon his unalloyed devotees and to diminish the upsurges of the demoniac persons. Queen Kunti specifically adores this incarnation or descent of Kṛṣṇa above all other incarnations, because in this particular incarnation he is more approachable. In the Rāma incarnation, he remained as a king's son from his very childhood. But in this incarnation of Kṛṣṇa, although he was the son of a king, he at once left the shelter of his real father and mother, King Vasudeva and Queen Devakī, just after his appearance, and went to the lap of Yaśodā Mai to play the part of an ordinary cowherd boy in the blessed Vrajabhumi, which is very sanctified because of his childhood pastimes. Therefore, Lord Kṛṣṇa is more merciful than Lord Rāma. He was undoubtedly very kind to Kunti's brother Vasudeva and the family. Had he not become the son of Vasudeva and Devakī, Queen Kunti could not claim him to be her nephew and thus address Kṛṣṇa in parental affection. But Nanda and Yaśodā are more fortunate, because they could relish the Lord's childhood pastimes, which are more attractive than all other pastimes. There is no parallel to his childhood pastimes as exhibited at Vrajabhumi, which are the prototypes of his real eternal affairs in the original Kṛṣṇa Loka, described as the cintāmaṇi-dhāma in Brahma-saṁhitā. Lord Kṛṣṇa descended himself at Vrajabhumi with all his transcendental entourage and paraphernalia. Śrī Caitanya Mahāprabhu therefore confirmed that no one is as fortunate as the residents of Vrajabhumi, and specifically the cowherd girls who dedicated their everything for the satisfaction of the Lord. His pastimes with Nanda and Yaśodā, and his pastimes with the cowherd men, and especially with the cowherd boys and the cows, have caused him to be known as Govinda. Lord Kṛṣṇa as Govinda is more inclined to the Brahmanas and the cows, indicating thereby that human prosperity depends more on the two items, namely Brahminical culture and cow protection. Lord Kṛṣṇa is never satisfied where these are lacking. Translation one more time. Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devakī, the boy of Nanda, and the other cowherd men of Vṛndāvana, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses. So, from verse 18, the next 25 verses, up to verse 25, in this particular chapter, Queen Kunti is offering prayers to Krishna. And Srila Prabhupada has extracted this section of verses, and we have it as a separate book called Teachings of Queen Kunti. Very few books like that which are extractions from Bhagavatam. We have Teachings of Kapila Dev, we have Krishna book which is 10th canto. So we can understand from this that Prabhupada considered these prayers very important, that he extracted them as separate and made them into separate book. And apart from this, if we read that book, apart from this purport, Prabhupada gives a much detailed explanation of each line of the verse. So the prayers start in verse 18, where Queen Kunti offers obeisance to Krishna and establishes Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Namasye Purusham Tvadyam. So the first thing Queen Kunti does is tell everyone that Krishna is God. And that is why these are not just prayers, we call them teachings. There is some very important message that she offers there. Krishna is Purusham Tvadyam. So she establishes position of Krishna. The second verse, she explains how, in spite of Krishna being the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in spite of him being present right in front of them, people are not able to understand. And she gives two reasons for that. The first reason is we are limited by our senses. There may be the king of, there may be the Prime Minister of India, the President of America standing right behind this pillar, but because I don't have the ability to see beyond this pillar with my limited vision, I am not able to perceive their presence. And that doesn't make them any less President or Prime Minister. No? So the first reason is our limited senses. And the second reason, she says, is natanatya dharayata. The Lord is having a curtain. He is having a veil. He is acting. When an actor dresses up as some particular character, people who are ignorant, they are not able to identify. If someone is dressed up as Santa Claus, some smart kid may know, I know you, you are the guy who lives in end of this road, you are my neighbor, so they may be able to identify. But some of us who are not so capable may not be able to identify when they are dressed up as clown. We actually think, because of our limited intelligence, we think that they are clown or Santa Claus or whatever, So that is the second reason. The Lord is coming with a veil. So those two reasons she offers why, in spite of Krishna being present in front of us as Supreme Personality of Godhead, we are not able to perceive. And in the next verse, she explains how even very great philosophers are not able to understand. So I am a woman. Striya, Vaishya, Tata, Shudra, they consider lower class of lower intelligence. So even if great philosophers are not able to understand, I am a woman, how can I understand? So she humbly presents herself as somebody who is lower level that she won't be able to understand. And in the purport to this verse 20, there's a lot of red ants. In the purport to that verse, and also in prayers in the book Teachings of Queen Kunti, Srila Prabhupada establishes what is the criteria for someone to understand the Lord. Is it that they should be great philosophers or some great yogis or somebody who is wonderful in meditation? No, actually the criteria for somebody to understand Krishna is that they should be devotee. And that is how Queen Kunti, that particular chapter in the book, Prabhupada calls the most intelligent woman. Even though in that particular verse, Queen Kunti calls herself somebody who is not qualified, who belongs to the unintelligent class of people. Prabhupada names that chapter as the most intelligent woman because she actually has the qualification. She has the sincerity, she has the humility that can create the scholarly intellect required to understand Lord Kṛṣṇa. So in the next verse, there is a brilliant exhibition of this exemplary intelligence that a devotee gets by being sincere in his devotional practice. You don't have to be, you can be Strī, Shudra, Vaishya, you can be of a low-born caste or whatever. But we see that because of her exemplary devotion, she is able to identify Krishna's exact position. So this verse is like a big theological explanation. Combining the purport and the teachings of Queen Kunti, both the books, we can see how she gives a graded explanation of position of God. So, kṛṣṇāya vāsudevāya. Srila Prabhupada explains in teachings of Queen Kunti that sometimes Vasudeva, the word Vasudeva is sometimes understood to mean the all-pervading. The impersonalists have this conception of Vasudeva, and therefore Queen Kunti points out that Vasudeva, the all-pervading, is Kṛṣṇa. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hridesha arjuna tishtati. Kṛṣṇa, the Supreme Lord, is present in everyone's heart. Thus, he is all-pervading. So, the first aspect that many people are familiar with is Kṛṣṇa is everywhere, all-pervading. So, Queen Kunti points out that all-pervading Vasudeva is none other than Lord Śrī Kṛṣṇa. So, who is this Kṛṣṇa? Then Prabhupada in the purport in the next paragraph, he explains, many people claim to be Kṛṣṇa. Even during Krishna's time, there were people who said they are God. There was Poundrak, he fixed two artificial arms and he devised some artificial chakra and shankha, and he was sitting there and he was saying, I am also Kṛṣṇa. So there are so many Kṛṣṇas, not only in Krishna's time, even today there are so many people who claim they are God. So Queen Kunti established that the all-pervading Vasudeva is Lord Kṛṣṇa. And who is that Kṛṣṇa? It is not Poundraka, it is not the many rascals who claim themselves to be Kṛṣṇa. This Kṛṣṇa is devakī-nandanāya. He is the son of Devakī. Kṛṣṇa is the one who is born to give pleasure to Devakī. So, and in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that this form of Kṛṣṇa is very approachable. When Ram was in this world, was not very approachable because he remained king throughout. Yes, there is not much relationship anybody could have because king, all you can do is go and offer some obeisances, you can offer some prayers, you can offer some jackfruit from your garden or whatever. You can't really have some rasa there. So Queen Kunti appreciates Krishna's this particular incarnation as son of Devaki and Vasudeva, because this birth of Krishna has given her the opportunity to become something to Krishna. She is Krishna's aunt, because Vasudeva is Krishna's Queen Kunti's brother. So that makes gives Queen Kunti an opportunity to establish a relationship. And when there is relationship, and there is rasa, there is mellow, there is something that happens. Even if it is fighting, even if it is crying, even if it is some kind of distress or whatever, as long as there is relationship, then there is some rasa there, some mellow is there. When there is no relationship, all you can do is just see. You're sitting there in your heart, Vasudeva, all pervading form of the Lord, then there is no rasa. So she establishes that the position of devakī-nandan is higher than the Vasudeva aspect, which is the all pervading form. So Krishna is the all pervading Lord, but higher than him is that Krishna who gives some rasa as devakī-nandan, because there is the opportunity to establish a relationship. And she very openly glorifies how her relationship is greater than is not as great as nanda-gopa-kumārāya. She has a relationship of aunt, so that is paternal affection. She feels motherly love towards Krishna. But this love has a tinge of Aishwarya, awe and reverence. So there is a conflict between showing love and remembering he is God. Krishna will come and touch her feet and put to his head, and she will feel, oh, this is my nephew, this is my son, so she will bathe him with her tears. So love is there. But at the same time, she will worship his feet as God, because she is aware that Krishna is God. So that is, there is Vatsalya in Aishwarya. So Queen Kunti then says, higher than that is nanda-gopa-kumārāya, where the relationship between Krishna and his devotees is that like that of the Brajavasis. So in that relationship, there is love, there is Vatsalya, there is Prema, there is Dasya, there is Sakhya. All different types of relationships are there. But the awe and reverence goes missing. There, it's only filled with the mellow of love, madhurya. So in that relationship, Krishna is not treated by the devotees like God. Krishna is just treated as their son, or as their friend, or as their lover, somebody who is equal, or somebody even who is inferior. Nanda Baba will say, go get my shoes. And Krishna will take the shoes, put on his head and bring it to Nanda Baba. And Krishna opens his mouth and shows to Yaśodā, I am God. You see, all the universe is inside my mouth. And then she thinks, oh, I'm delusional, let's tie him up. You may be God, but come on, let's tie you up in the motor, So the aspect of God does not get highlighted. They are not aware Krishna is God, and even if they are aware that Krishna is God, they don't care. It doesn't bother them. When Krishna was hiding from the gopis during Rasa Mandali, he ran away and he was hiding in bushes with 4 hands. And the gopis were coming and looking for him, and when they moved the bushes, they saw Krishna was there with 4 hands. And they didn't care, said, okay, some Vishnu form, Hare Krishna, they left. And Krishna could not hold his 4 hands. He became 2-handed. By the intensity of the love they had, he could not show himself as God. He became 2-handed form, the lover of gopis. So that rasa of where the Aishwarya is removed and Madhurya is established, that is higher, and there he is Nanda-gopa-kumāra. So Vasudeva is the all-pervading form. Devakī-nandan is Lord Kṛṣṇa's position with some awe and reverence. And nanda-gopa-kumārāya is where we have relationship with Kṛṣṇa, but we forget that Kṛṣṇa is Lord. And in the prayers, in teachings of Queen Kunti book, Srila Prabhupada gives a very detailed explanation of the comparison of pleasure that Kṛṣṇa obtains by being God and being son. Prabhupada says, when you are God, everybody asks you for everything. Not that you can't give. Just by your will, you can give everything everybody wants. So it is not difficult to be God. But the pleasure obtained is very limited, because the relation is of I am asking, you give, I am asking, you give. And that's the predominant way people deal with God. Even when you are going to pray, you will not just say thank you. You say, please give us our daily bread. So there is always something you ask. So when people treat God as God, He is like Father. He constantly, people are asking something. And there is pleasure in giving, but there is a greater pleasure when everyone cares for you. You're not the one who is caring, but everyone is caring for you. And they provide for you with the very things that you provided them, so that they can provide you. So the relationship is so much more sweet, because they think that they have to take care of Kṛṣṇa. They have to cook, they have to feed. Oh, you're walking, then the sand is going to hurt your feet. There is care. And that gives much greater pleasure than love is love. Kṛṣṇa loves every living entity equally. So you ask Him and He gives you, He feels great pleasure also. But He feels much greater pleasure when He sees that we are giving. Now there's Prabhupada frequently gives this analogy of how a son sometimes take money from the father's pocket, and then he will go and buy some candy or something, and he'll give to dad. This is me giving to you. So is it the son giving to the dad? No, the money is dad's. So technically the candy is dad's, the child is dad's. So there is nothing actually anybody can give. But the attitude, that mood is something that matters. So we take everything from Kṛṣṇa, but we give it back to Him in a very loving way, in a very caring way. So in the teachings of Queen Kunti, Prabhupada establishes that Kṛṣṇa as being God and Kṛṣṇa as being son or lover or somebody who is subordinate to his devotee, when we compare, there is greater mellow relished by both parties, by the Lord Himself and the devotees. And then nanda-gopa-kumārāya, and then govindāya namo namaḥ. So Srila Prabhupada writes in the Purport, Lord Kṛṣṇa as Govinda is more inclined to Brahmanas and the cows, indicating thereby that human prosperity depends on these two items, namely Brahmanical culture and cow protection. Lord Kṛṣṇa is never satisfied with these are lacking. So if we see in Vṛndāvana, there is no doubt that there was no cow protection. No, cows are always protected. Cows are the most important part of Kṛṣṇa's pastime. Mother Yaśodā wanted to offer shoes to Kṛṣṇa, and then Kṛṣṇa asked, do you think you will have shoes for all my cows also? And he said, no, how can we get shoes for all your cows? And, well, if cows don't have shoes, I also will not have shoes. So Kṛṣṇa gave great importance to cows. He loved cows. And Brahmanical culture. So Brahmanas and Brahmanical culture is important to understand the difference. Brahmana means patan, yajan, yajan. They study scriptures, they teach scriptures, they worship the Lord, they help others worship the Lord. So that is Brahmana. It's like a job description. A Kshatriya is one who has great valor, one who is protecting. Vaishya is into cow protection and agriculture. and Shudra is serving others. So those are all job descriptions. But when we say Brahminical culture, it is something that we can see in devotees. Brahminical culture is not to be interpreted as Brahmanas. Brahminical culture is a quality. It is not a job description, it is a character profile. It is some attribute. These are called Titikshava, Karunikaha, Sukrita, Sarvadehinam, Ajata Shatravaha, Santaha, Sadavaha, Sadhubhushanaha. These are qualities which make Krishna very happy. So those qualities, wherever they cultivated, there Krishna is very happy. Tolerance, Titikshava is tolerant. People tolerate. Just when I was coming up, I saw this group of young boys in big fire, in front of Garuda Dev, big fire. And I was just thinking, when I have to just boil some milk, or you're just doing some katal sabji or something, you're standing there for like 15 or 20 minutes, and then you're like all like, and then these kids, so tolerant, big fire, and they're putting, and why are they doing it? They're praying for others. They're praying for well-being of the world, well-being of other people who are suffering. So that is a quality, Titikshava, that tolerance, they don't complain, fire, We complain so much in the kitchen, but they are there doing it for someone else's well-being. So that is a quality, Brahminical culture. Recently I got one message, my spiritual master was creating one email ID and saying, whoever is suffering from COVID, you send this, if you know or if you are suffering. If you know of devotees who are suffering, or if you are suffering, you can send their name and details to this ID, and I will pray for them. Karunika, what job do we have, But we think of them. We want to pray for their well-being. We want to show them that we care. So that those qualities of Brahmana, our dear Pankajangri Prabhu, when the doctors were checking his heart for inflammation, he was checking his heart for presence of Krishna. That is love. They don't relate any of the material qualities, any of the material situations as they are. They always relate those situations to Krishna, and that is Brahminical culture. You may be a Shudra, you may be somebody who is cleaning toilet, you may be somebody who is there doing battle, you may be there in the field plowing and taking care of cows. But if we exhibit those qualities, then there's Brahminical culture there, there's cow protection there. And then when these are there, the Lord is very satisfied. So Queen Kunti, for somebody who calls herself not so very intelligent, you can see how she is giving a beautiful gradation of and a very deep philosophical understanding of Krishna's position. Krishna is Govinda ultimately, the one who derives great pleasure when his devotees are exemplary. One takes advantage of Krishna consciousness movement, one can understand God perfectly and completely. So this understanding is possible, this understanding of who is God is possible only when we are following in the footsteps of devotees like Queen Kunti, because they are exalted by their devotion. Then their understanding of Krishna is not just a philosophical knowledge or a speculative knowledge. It is perfect knowledge because it comes out of devotion and sincerity. And only by following, we will understand Krishna. And we will understand Krishna to the extent that we know his name, we know his form, and we know his address. The first lecture I ever heard of Srila Prabhupada was on a cassette tape. And then it was, Sanayor Ubayor Madhya Ratha Stapayame Achyuta, Arjuna is telling Krishna to put the chariot between the two armies. So Prabhupada was talking very, very detailed about Achyuta. And then by the end of that tape, Prabhupada said, we know the name, form, address and telephone number of God. And because it was the first time I heard, I was like, whoa, this person is like, he knows about God. So I flipped the tape, but then there was some bhajan recorded. then I was like, oh my God, I really need to know what is the telephone number of God and address of God. And it actually encouraged me to read books more seriously and ask questions to devotees. And they said, oh, Krishna's address is Goloka. And I was like, oh, what is Goloka? I've heard of Gokul, it's in Vṛndāvana. I said, oh no, it is spiritual sky. And they explained the whole. And then what is Krishna's telephone number? And they said, oh, that is very easy. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rāma, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, when we follow in the footsteps of Queen Kunti, who by her exemplary behavior, though she calls herself the most unqualified, can present, when we follow in her footsteps, we can understand who is Krishna as she presents. Krishna is Vasudeva. He is the one who is present in everyone's heart as Paramatma. But he is also devakī-nandanāya. His higher understanding is that he is son of Devaki, where there is some Aishwarya involved. And higher than then is nanda-gopa-kumārāya. This is Madhurya, where the relationship is much more sweeter. And govindāya, namo, namaḥ, where he is very pleased when devotees develop exemplary qualities and they take care of his cows. And she offers obeisance to such wonderful Lord Kṛṣṇa. So, thank you very much. Any comments or questions? Yes, Prabhuji. May I request you to be a little bit more louder, please?
Here in the word meanings, it is said that Krishna as a Govinda is the enlivener of the cows and senses. So if Krishna is enlivener of cows and senses particularly, so when we come to the Krishna consciousness, still we see the devotees, like if I talked about myself, struggle so much with the desires of sense gratification. Senses run so far towards the external sense objects rather than running towards the Krishna's form, Krishna's Bhagavatam. So, like this struggle goes on for the devotees also. So, can you give some hope in regards to that? Yeah.
The good news is that you don't have to actually, and in reality it's not possible for anybody to completely annihilate the needs of senses. So it is an artificial state if somebody thinks that they can exist by denying the needs of senses. It is artificial. Nobody can sustain themselves very long. The minute you come out of that trance, like where you are artificially controlling your sense, one sense is enough to send you to like a great level of fall down. What is the name of that Katvanga Muni? I can't remember the name. He was under the water doing Saubhari Muni. Yes, Saubhari Muni. Meditating, all the senses. He didn't even stay in the land. So you can't hear sound, you can't see anything. Open your eyes, only water. Yeah? So much of mystic yoga, full control of sense. And then one time you open your eye, and that one eye seeing a fish with another fish was enough to make him marry 50 princes and enjoy sense for a very long time. So that to think that artificially we will be able to control senses or deny the needs of sense, it is never going to work. So what do we do with senses then? You give them Krishna. You don't deny yourself of prasadam. Don't deny yourself of food, because that is the need of tongue, to taste something palatable. Give prasadam. Don't deny yourself, like you want to smell something nice, but you cannot artificially control that. But you smell flowers offered to the Lord, then Mangalarti time they come with a stick and put that very fragrant oil in hand, no? So you smell that. So the senses can be satisfied, but they can be very easily satisfied by giving them what is offered to Krishna. You artificially, if we try to control them, then there will not be any success. But when we dovetail them in the service of the Lord, then naturally they become controlled. And a great inspiration is association of devotees who have done it. You want to do it, stay with people who are doing it, and they will show you the path. Krishna consciousness can never be performed by our own strength. So we need to always stay in association of people who are very good in controlling their senses. And as long as we stay with them, they will inspire us. We may be like, well, you want to crash, you want to sleep. And then if you are in like your husband all the time wakes up for Mangalarti, and immediately say, hey, wake up, let's go, So that association is very important. So alone by ourselves, we cannot control. So we should not artificially try to control. Instead, we should offer bona fide sense gratification. Prasadam, smelling flowers offered to Krishna. You desire to listen to music, listen to kirtan, like that, we can satisfy in a bona fide way. And the second most important point is to stay in company of people who know how to do it, who are strong in doing it. Then we will automatically do. That's very difficult, it is very difficult, but that is the only way it can work. ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय।